Hello, hello. Welcome back. I am back on the grid. If you don't know, I was off grid for a couple days. I took an impulse trip and drove my ass all the way to Montreal for 4 days. 4 days, 3 nights, by myself. Yeah, it was a lovely 6 hour drive there, a lovely 4 hour and 45 minutes drive back. I decided to take the trip because I was going through it. These past 2 months have been kicking my ass, to say the least. I just needed a break and I needed an escape, and I've been craving for an escape, but I always made the excuse of like, oh, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, like, it's not worth it, da 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 da. So I just did it. I went with no money, no food, no plan. Actually, I went with a little bit of food. So I stayed in a hostel, which, if you don't know what a hostel is, it is basically, it's kind of like an Airbnb, but you're sharing a room with a whole bunch of like random people. So I had the option to either do an all women's one or a co-ed one. I chose a co-ed because it was cheaper. But I honestly had a lot of fun. As stressful and scary as it was, I had a lot of fun. Not even halfway there. Well, I guess, yeah, halfway there, reality kind of kicked in for me, and I got really fucking scared. And I was like, oh my god, I shouldn't be doing this. Like, I should go home and, like, whatever. But I was like, well, I'm already halfway out. It would be such a waste of money and time if I just turned around, right? So I ended up going through with it. But like I said, I went there with no money in my pockets. Like, literally no money in my pockets. I brought road trip food, and my plan was to ration that throughout the days that I was there. And it didn't last me. Not because I ate it all, but because it got thrown out at the hostel because I didn't put a date on it. I only put my name, and they ended up throwing out my food. Most of the days I didn't eat, or I had like snacks to nibble on, or I only had one meal to last me throughout the entire day. So I would plan it to only eat at like lunch, and that would be like my brunch dinner meal. Luckily, I reached out to a friend before going there, because he was going to be around at the time. So I messaged him, and thankfully, bro, this guy literally saved my fucking life. But he bought me food and took me out on the first and the last day that I was there. So I was fed fucking good on the first and last day. So I basically explained the reason why. Let me break down how the days went, because they were pretty eventful in both good and bad. And honestly, I would do it again. I would fucking do it again. But yeah, so first day, I got there on Monday. I left at 9 a.m. The first half of the drive flew by. The second half was god awful, and I thought I was gonna fucking lose my mind in the car. I realized it would have been a lot more fun to do a road trip with somebody else in the car or with friends. Alone, I got really bored. I got really antsy and anxious and whatever. But we made it through, checked in around 3:30, and then I got to my room. My dorm room I learned when I got into the room, all men. All men, not a single woman in the room, which is fine. It didn't make me uncomfortable. I really didn't care. But it just smelled really bad. Like, you open the door and it's just, whoo. It just smells like men. Like, straight up men. Yeah, how I explained it to my cousin was, like, it smelled like almost like a men's change room. Like, sweaty. It's just gross and musty. It was nasty. But the further you got into the room, like, you just got used to it and you didn't really smell it anymore. But yeah, I went in, dropped my bags off. This guy on the top bunk across from mine, like, peered open his little curtain and was like, hello. I was like, oh my god, scared the shit out of me. But I was like, hi, how are you doing? Whatever. Did our cute little quick introduction, set my stuff up, and then I think I walked around for a bit. I walked around the hostel, which is not a very big hostel. It's very cute, very, homey. So yeah, organized my stuff, walked around. There was a bar in the downstairs area, like the basement area. It was super cute. They had ping pong, foosball, pool, and then they have like a small little cafe area. On the rooftop, they have beautiful view. You could see like the bridge in the distance, the church, a bunch of buildings and whatnot. Oh, they also had 2 jacuzzis on the roof, I never used them because I didn't bring my stuff. And it was also really cold, so I didn't really think about it. But yeah, came back to my room, and the guy that was on the top bunk came down, introduced himself. We talked for a bit, got to know each other, and then eventually we went down to the bar to hang out. He bought me a drink. We talked, got to know each other some more. Yeah, he told me he was 19, and he was from London, England. He was in Montreal to scout because he wanted to try to live there. So he was checking the place out. Though his mom's from there, but she's living back in London. But whatever. So yeah, he's planning to be in Montreal for like a month and a bit longer, trying to find a job. He used to do production design. Now he's in bartending. He's trying to do bartending in Montreal. I told him my age, and he was like, damn. I was like, yeah, not too much older than you, but, old enough. And then we played a bunch of games, met some people down there, made some friends, and then I went out with my friend that night. My friend took me out. He bought me Haitian food. We caught up a lot, and then he took me to his friend's apartment. Massive fucking apartment, by the way. Gorgeous. And it's funny because my friend was like, no, yeah, what he pays here is what I pay back in Toronto, and it's not as big, obviously. But it was just an insane apartment. I was like, damn, you're paying only that much, when in Toronto it would have been like between $5,000 to $8,000. So crazy. But yeah, I got to know them. Oh yeah, so anyways, he drove me back home. We caught up some more and whatever, talked to the friend I made in my dorm, went to bed. Next morning I woke up at my usual 7:30, went for a little walk, found a cute little cafe, went there, bought some food, and then did a little bit of work, and then came back to the hostel. But we're in like the downtown area, and it's like the queer street, so a lot of like LGBT stuff, but it seemed very poverty stricken. There was a lot of homeless people, a lot of, just not the best area, to be honest. But the cafe that I found was super, super cool. It was super colorful, and it was so unique. Like, you would never find anything like that in Toronto. The food was pretty good. My French isn't very good, so not only can I speak very little, I can also read very little. So I ordered the only thing that I could understand, which was a grilled cheese with apples in it. It was actually pretty decent. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't super flavorful, but it was nice. It filled me. So I did some work there, went back to the hostel, chatted with the friend some more. He took a very strong liking towards me. And it was super sweet. I wasn't really interested in doing anything like that with him or anything like that at all during this little getaway trip. So, I was just trying to be friendly. That night was comedy night. Later on in the night, we went down to watch the comedy shows. Long story short, it was not good, and it made me super uncomfortable, so we left early. Yeah, the comedy just wasn't good. The first guy was pretty okay. It was mostly him just making fun of himself. The next two guys made me super uncomfortable because one of them was talking about rape, and then the other one was making fun of everybody, like every guy in the audience, using the R word and just calling every male like ugly, like you're ugly, and like da 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 da. So we left. And I was a little sad because I wanted to play pool that night, but we didn't get the chance to. So we went back up to the room and played Mario World instead on his little Nintendo Switch thing. We chilled on my bunk and hung out for a bit, and something was racking my brain because I was trying to do the math, right? The math wasn't mathing. So I asked him what year he was born. He said 2004. Well, I was like, this is how it went. We're playing. I was like, so what year were you born? He's like, what do you mean, what year? I said, like, what year were you born? He goes, oh, 2004. I was like, okay. He's like, you're 2001, right? I was like, yeah. Which means he did the math before, after I told him my age. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. How can you be turning 19 but you're born 2004? That means you'd be turning 20. I don't know, it just made me feel very weird. I was like, we could be friends, sure, whatever, but this guy was like hardcore flirting. Like hardcore like hitting on me and whatnot. I just ignored it. Whatever, I minded my own business. Oh, yeah, that was the night also that the hostel threw out my food. Did I mention that already? Probably not. Oh, I think I did. But I after the comedy show, I was like, okay, I'm a little hungry. I'm gonna grab some of my food. Went to the fridge. Not there. They threw it out. I almost started crying. The guy was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, are you gonna be okay for the next few days? I was like, I'll figure something out. Like, I'll find something. I was very upset. I texted my friend. I was like, bro, they threw out my food. I have no food left. So that night was over and done with. And then the next morning was Wednesday. I woke up at my usual time, and then I did my online class. I spent the afternoon doing some work. I applied to some jobs and did some of my creative work and whatnot, and the friend was, just chilling. So I was like, okay, well, you can sit on my bed and chill if you want, while I do my work before we have to go out, because my friend invited me out, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna bring this guy. But that night at the hostel was karaoke night, and we were both really excited for it. So I had to extend the invite so I wasn't leaving him in the dust. But I took a little sneaky picture of him while I was working to send to my friend to be like, oh my god, look at this kid. And I didn't really pay attention to the picture, but I sent it and I looked back at it, and bro, that gave me the picture. I'm not gonna show the picture for privacy reasons, but the picture gave me the biggest ick ever. Like the biggest ick. And usually I can hide it after. I could not hide it. I could not hide it for the life of me. I started distancing myself even more and changing the way I talked to him, hoping that he would get the hint. He did not get the hint. He was very whipped. Very whipped. We chilled for a bit, played some more Mario after my work, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a nap before we go, which was me trying to say, like, get the fuck off my bed. Like, get away from me. I did end up taking a nap, and then I started getting ready. So I started doing my makeup, my hair, getting dressed. He was stressing a little bit about what he wanted to wear. I was like, you know what? We're going to an event, like just live music and shit, or whatever you want. After that, we left a bit early, and we had to walk to the station, which was a 30-minute walk. Luckily, it was very nice outside. It was very sunny. Calling my friend, I'm like, hey, we're here, where are you? He's like, I'm also here, where are you? Long story short, we walked to the wrong place. We were not at the place that he wanted us to be at, so we walked to this other location that my friend was like, oh, just chill in this area for now. We ended up walking in a big fucking circle because the location that he told us to go to was near our hostel. We chilled there for a bit. There was a really cute and like beautiful cafe. We stayed there for a bit, and then I had my first thing to eat. That was around like 5, 6. My first thing to eat was a scone that I bought from that cafe, and I only bought that because I was like, oh, I'm probably going to be drinking a little bit, so I have to have something in my system, right? $5 for a scone, bruh. I was like, homie, $5 for a scone is crazy. The guy there was super cool though. He's super sweet. I spoke a little bit of French to him just cause. I do wish the scone was warmed up a little bit. It was quite cold and hard. But we sat down, and there was like a skating rink in front of where we were sitting. So we were watching people skate back and forth. My friend, or the guy, was like, oh, I really want to skate, like da-da-da-da-da. I was like, you could go skating, I'll watch, right? Like, I don't really like skating. I also don't know how to skate, so really not my thing. It hurts my ankles, whatever. But yeah, we chilled in the cafe for quite a bit, and then I was like, let's go outside, go for a walk or something, get some air. He was very adamant on going skating with me. I was like, okay, are you going to pay for it? Because I'm not going to pay for it. He offered to pay. I was like, I'm not skating. I'm sorry, I'm not skating. Yeah, we got approached by this guy, and he was asking for help but not being super clear on what he wanted, because he was like, oh, I'm supposed to meet 2 coworkers and they didn't show up, and my car's not working, and I have money in my bank account, can you help me? And I was like, I'm sorry, we're not from here. He scoffed and like rolled his eyes. He's like, so just because you're not from here you can't help me? I was like, I don't really know what to do in this situation. Like, I was like, I'm sorry, man, like, can't help you. And he's like, I'm never helping anyone again. And I was like, okay. And he walks away. I looked to my friend to the guy, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck just happened? That's so odd. And then we saw the guy like just going up to random people after, asking for help, and no one was giving him the time of day, obviously. Fast forward a little bit, and my friend ended up picking us up, and he took us to get food. Thank fuck, he bought food for both of us. And then the guy bought his own food, and we had best pasta I have ever had. It was so good. It was carbonara, but it was a hefty portion. Like, it really feeds one order feeds 2 people, essentially, right? So my friend and I shared, and they had like this homemade garlic bread, and it was so good. We were supposed to go to this other place before going to the main event, and then we had a mishap with the car because it ran out of gas. So we were trying to figure that out. It was a very messy situation because we were trying to fill the gas tank with gas, not at the gas station, and without the proper like pour thing. It was just a mess. It was so bad. But yeah, we got the car with a bit of gas, and then went to the main event, and it was live music. And it was cool because, for a lot of reasons, but we didn't have to pay to get in. Not because of like who my friend knew or anything, but because like you just don't have to pay to get into venues. Unlike Toronto, you have to pay to get in everywhere, right? And the drinks were super cheap too. The live music was like a jam session. It was kind of like jazz. I don't even know how to describe the music because it's not even like jazz, but there's a different genre for it, but I don't know what it's called. It was so cool. So they had like the main band that usually performs there, and then their improv singers and whatever, and then they had jam sessions in the middle. So anybody was able to come up with their instrument or borrow instruments, and then they would just improv and play together. And then the guys would improv their lyrics and improv their raps and their singing and whatever. It was just so cool. It was so cool, and I've never seen anything like that before. but oh my god, it was beautiful. Even the venue was beautiful. I met 2 girls and I got their Instagrams and they were super cool and beautiful. We danced a lot, my friend and I, and the guy. He was vibing, he was enjoying it. That event ended and we headed out. It was quite late. My friend and I were both very tired, but I made some connections, some really good connections with other artists and creatives there. On the way back, because it was quite a bit of a drive back to the hostel, my friend and I were talking about relationships and whatnot, because we're going through the same thing, situations of heartbreaks and breakups and whatever. But yeah, the guy was trying to put in his 2 cents or whatever, and we're like, just chill, man, you don't need to try to contribute, you could just listen. On the drive back home was when I learned he lied about his age. The friend that I made lied about his age. So he told me he was 19 when I met him in the car. I remember looking back at him because he was talking, right? And he was like, yeah, you know, I'm sorry. Like, I've been telling people that I'm 19, but I'm actually 18. But I turned 19 in like a couple weeks. But it's just been easier to say that I'm 19, like da-da-da-da-da. And I froze. I was like, ah. And I turned to the front and I just didn't say nothing. But I could see that he was really flustered and he was really embarrassed. But he was trying to explain himself on why he was like lying about his age to people. He was like, well, everyone in London calls me a kid, and like I just didn't want people to think that way about me, so I've been just saying that I'm 19, like this, that, and the third. I didn't say nothing until my friend was like, oh, you know, like that's totally cool, you know, age don't matter here. I was like, yeah, man, it's your business, not any of mine, so do what you gotta do. He felt a little bit relieved after that. But yeah, we went on with the rest of our night. We got to the hostel and the 3 of us went in and chilled for a bit to talk and called it a night, let him go. The guy and I went back upstairs to our dorm, got ready for bed, and talked for a little bit. I gave him a hug because I was like, you know, I probably won't see you tomorrow morning before I leave. I was like, you know, I'm really proud of you I have a lot of respect for you doing what you're doing, you know, coming here on your own to figure yourself out at such a young age. Good for you, honestly. I was like, I wish you all the best. Whenever you come to the city, we'll definitely work together and whatever. I was like, yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. You know, a very cute, sweet, genuine moment. He ended up telling me that he set his alarm for when I usually wake up so that he could wake up with me. Next morning, I woke up, got all my shit together, packed super quick, and he woke up with me and we chatted for a little bit. I tried to plan my morning and my route. And then I left a bit early because I was feeling a bit homesick and I just wanted to get out. Yeah, I was ready to leave. But the thing is, I was feeling homesick not in the sense of like missing my bed or missing my family, but I was really missing my friends. Like really missing my friends. But yeah, we gave our last goodbyes and then I was off. My friend set me up with this carpool thing. So I went to the meeting spot, tried to see if I could carpool with anybody or if anybody wanted to come back to Toronto with me. Ended up finding one person. He did not speak any English. He was super sweet, very nice, very respectful. And the way that we communicated with each other was through a translation app. So he would be using Google Translate. I used Papago. He would like type something and then show me his phone screen, and then I'd go on my phone and I'd type something really quick and then show him. Right? That's how we communicated. And yeah, he also tried to flirt with me. Ended up taking my number. Didn't really want to do anything with him either, but he's the only other person in my car, so I kind of had to, for safety reasons, right? Yeah, it was a very nice drive back. Made a couple stops, and then I dropped him off where he needed to be dropped off. I asked for 45 in cash, and he gave me 50, and then he was like, oh, I'm going to give you 50 because you were very nice to me. I was like, oh, thank you so much. But yeah, that was that drive. And what happened after that? Oh, I went to my cousin's house and he properly fed me, thank God, because I was like, man, I've been off grid. I haven't eaten in 4 days, pretty much. I debriefed with him and his girl, and then drove home, and now I'm here. But it's been a very eventful couple days, but I'm not complaining. I think it was a good eventful, as much as like I had to deal with the guy or whatever, which I also confronted him about after. Like when I got home, I texted him. So when my cousin and his girl were debriefing, we were trying to do the math because I was like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right to me. It made me feel really icky, right? Even though I wasn't trying to do nothing with him, or I wasn't like playing along to whatever he was doing, it just made me feel really icky to for him to be so touchy, flirty, whatever with me when I'm 4 years older, right? And in Toronto, the legal age is 18. I mean, is 19. In Montreal, it's 18. So technically, he's a legal adult. It's just, I don't know. It just still felt really weird to me. To me, he's still a child, you know? So I was just, I don't know. I kind of told him off. And I was like, you have a lot of courage. You're really ballsy for doing all of that when you really could have just been honest with me from the start, and I really don't appreciate that. So I had to let him go. I was like,